Hey, what's up everyone? It's Rich. Alright, welcome to the introduction into looser inking. This is going to go fast and furious. I'm going to give you a warning right now out of the gate. There's a few spots where it gets a little blurry. It's later in the day in my office. The lighting is not great for my camera's autofocus, so at times it tries to focus in on things and it blurs. I always show details. There's nothing that gets blurry that you're really going to miss out on. You'll always get a tight shot of all the techniques. And anyway, this is what's coming. It's a real good video. I think it's going to get you excited about trying this stuff, and I promise you, it is not easy to do. This is going to be very, very challenging, because the thing is to do it loose is one thing. To do it loose and have it actually look appealing is kind of another, as you'll see. Alright, so just hang in there tight. You're going to want to blend the two. You're going to want to be able to do tight stuff and then to be able to fire it off spontaneously. So, alright, enjoy my introduction into loose inking. Alright, bye. Hey, what's up everyone? It's Rich. Alright, let's do this. I'm working on a page, but I have some ink drying. And I'm determined to get this all out there. So, this nib was funny, as I actually had to do a technique. I wish I could show the page. That had kind of a fade that was a little loose. And I was like, oh man, like this is totally like what we're talking about. So, instead of doing, so when you're pulling lines into an area, you can kind of more haphazardly do it. So why this is difficult to teach is because it's very instinctual. So for me to try to initially introduce someone in the inking and tell them to just like kind of have lines go thinner, thicker, and like there's a rhythm and something that you'll see with your eye to get a blend or a fade, that's pretty complicated to show, you know. But again, you can, if you start doing stuff like that, you're heading the right direction. There still should be like a bit of an aesthetic that looks appealing to the eye. When that dries in a second, I'll throw some more lines through it, but let's put a little water on my nib. We'll throw down a few sets of like lines in certain directions, and I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. So this will be like kind of more thin to thick, like if it was gonna fade up here. Another thing that Bernie is doing in some of his pieces is you'll see, let me see if I can do this, like again, kind of the I call it a cascading, but things will start to arc around. This is an extreme example of it, but you'll get the idea of what I'm talking about. But do you see how I curved that? And again, this stuff is all looser, meaning it's not so equally distant. The lines aren't stopping and starting all at the same exact spot. And you could do these same lines with a brush or with a quill. It's, you know, it's the same idea. Very difficult, or more difficult, I should say, to do it with something like a Micron, because you're not going to be able to get thin to thick is much of what do you call it, like a ratio, because a pen kind of can only go so. I mean, you can definitely flick lines with a Micron and get sort of thinner and thicker. So let's see here. What I'm doing right now is I'm just setting up things that I'll be able to go over with second rows of lines. But again, you still like it's just more carefree. But it still looks nice, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be. And I've talked about this in other videos. I'm actually kind of notorious or known for people think of my stuff as clean, but it's really kind of not. And it can be problematic at times, honestly, because if someone really wants like hyper clean, sort of perfective inks, I don't really do that. You know, I moved away from that a long time ago. I think that you need elements of that. I mean, it can't really be like completely like off the charts random, but at the same time, yeah, I don't really have the patience to be so clean with. He does, and he'll draw sometimes with lines, and I'm actually letting my hand waggle a little bit, so we'll make these a little thicker now, but But I'm kind of like, it's okay. It's okay for the line to vibrate a little bit. So here, I'll show you what I'm talking about here. You see how this would be difficult to teach? But you'll see in that piece, if you look at it, things that look like that. There's a little bit of a tearing going on with the paper. Again, once the stuff dries, I'll start throwing some other sets of lines in it. And then you could kind of, let's see if this will work. I'll try to go like thin and thick. Again, I'm letting my hand kind of like throw like the lines as I'm drawing them. I'm letting it kind of vibrate a little bit and sort of be a little more inconsistent. And then maybe like there's some little gaps here. But when Bernie is doing this, he's got an eye for value and what the thing is going to look like. So here's some more. Sorry, that's a little out of focus, but this will be in focus when I show it to you. Okay, do you see that? Again, look at that piece and then look at some of the stuff that I'm showing you right now. You'll see a bit more of this. Okay, now I'm going to pause this for a second, let all this dry, and then we'll throw some second sets of lines through it. So give me a minute. Okay, I'm back. So what I did is I just actually threw this set of lines, which are very similar to these. They're basically they're dead weight sort of brush strokes that have a little bit of a variation in them, but it's very, very subtle. But what I wanted to do is go from thin to thicker, but not in a real like anal way where everything is perfect. But then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to start the blend above it. So this will be kind of cool, is starting to throw lines into these. And again, if you look through that piece, you'll see areas where Bernie did this, and it creates all these like really interesting little patterns. And then what I'm doing, I'm defocusing my eyes. Do you see why this is complicated to teach? And I kind of avoided this out of the gate. I'm defocusing my eyes so that all I see is like the silhouette, like just kind of the shadows of what's going on. My pen doesn't want to draw. Give me a sec here. This is an older nib. Like I said, it had characteristics that reminded me a bit more of something that maybe one of those older style pieces would have. But anyway, okay, and see the ink got a little thick there. But the thing is that you can play off that. You know. Do I want that line there? Nah, I'm going to scratch that out. Okay. That looks really cool to me, honestly. It could look even cooler if I throw just a few lines going a couple of different directions in here. It's a little too wet to do that right now, but what we'll do is we'll continue this blend fade here. So again, I'm just going to throw another set of lines. And again, if some of the lines are thicker, then you just go with it. This is improv. I'm not kidding about that, though. It actually kind of is. You know, it's you know how and when something needs to fade, and you're forcing your will on the line work. Okay, does that look Wrightson-y? Could you imagine that like a Frankenstein plate? Yes, you could, because that's kind of what he was doing. This is just one technique. There's many, 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 many. But, okay? I'm telling you, we'll get there. Just, I was trying to roll it out slowly. You guys are too clever. We're dealing with all different levels of ability, too, which makes it challenging. All right, I'm going to let all this dry, and then I'm going to come back, and I'm going to do a second hatch through a few of these things, just to show a few examples of that. All right? So hang on tight, babies. Okay, I'm back. I'm actually going to throw a few more things so that I can do more cross-hatching. I felt bad because I did this not on video. But again, same idea. I'm just going thin to thick. But I'm trying to get like a little bit of length to these lines so I have some room to play over them when I come back through. So it'll give me the opportunity to do like second and third hatches. So but you want to get pretty good, and you can turn the nib a bit to the side and get kind of a thinner line. Now I'm drawing kind of more with my whole arm. I'll pull this over here a little bit. But again, I just found this a very, very difficult idea to present this to, you know, I don't even know, like, if you want to call it aspiring inkers or younger inkers, but you know what I mean? Like, this is more based on drawing. I mean, they are inking techniques because I'm using the inking tool, but it's just how I would do this and where I would let my hands sort of slip and slide and cross over a little bit and do sort of this natural dance would be based on what I'm drawing. You know, that's the thing. To isolate inking and to talk about Wrightson stuff is very, very challenging. So we'll blend the two. I'm really determined to make this a great series. It's actually kind of fun for me, and I'm gonna learn a lot from it, which is really, really cool. So it's kind of it's a double win for me because I think it's a fun thing for people to check out. It's a style that I think still could have legs today, and man, anytime you get an opportunity to learn from someone as great as he was, take it, do it. But again, remember the edge of the table? You know, his lines were kind of like this. Like, he would have lines that would go this way and this way and this way. And really what he was doing is he was just creating a sense of value in a spot. Again, I apologize for my camera trying to, like, focus and unfocus. It's not a big deal in terms of, like, what I did. It's just, like that was the edge of the table, like some of the wood grain that he had on the side. And then he had another chunk. Let me hit autofocus again. God. Can't wait for my new phone. And then his next section had kind of thicker lines, and some kind of touched each other, and you know, a few of them even popped out. I don't know if this is all dry, but like if this was the edge of the table, we'll say, he may actually have had some gaps, but there'd be, like, you know, not all of them touched the edge of the line. Some went over the line. But he knew, okay, so this is another chunk of the table, and there's a little gap here, and then these were a little darker. So, okay, and then we're going to start doing some hatching here in a second, but, you know. Okay, I'm going to pause this, let this dry, and then we'll get into the hatch. Okay, this stuff should be drier now. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to grab a brush to do the hatches. We could have done it with a nib, but I want to do it with a brush because I really do feel like that piece is brush. Anyway, this gets us set up, and I could have done these same initial sets of lines with a brush. It really is the same technique. So let me get a little ink on this brush. And, you know, honestly, probably some of the stuff that he did in that piece was not totally dry brush, but could be dry brush-ish. I'll check the camera 1 second to see if it's auto-focused on me. I'll make sure it looks like it is. I worry sometimes because it will, like, focus on my hand. But again, I'm just to show, like, so, you know, you could do some stuff like that. Okay, they're like little hatches, but they're not so tight. But here, what we'll do is I'm gonna put a blend through this and make sure this is focused. Okay, I would normally do that on a scratch piece of paper, but that's why I'm doing that much. All right, so let's do this. We'll do some this way. So we got like a little bit of rendering going on in there. Hopefully you can see that okay. Is it focused? Okay, and we'll throw some lines through this up here. We'll do this. Again, I'm going to kind of, some will be closer together, some will be further away. But the bottom line is, at some point, I need them to get a little thicker. And this is something that you're just going to have to play with, and depending on the area that you're working on, I'm going thick to thin. I'm flicking these. Okay, just some different little hatches in there. This I'll do, actually, I'll go straight across this and just see what happens. And then pulling them closer together, a little tighter. Maybe he wanted it to blend a bit more, so he felt that he needed to have a line kind of come through. Again, now I'm kind of letting it sort of go different, ending in different spots. Okay, and then these will be like quite a bit looser. Let me just get a little more ink on this. This was a little almost too neat. And sometimes speed is your friend with this stuff. Like you know, going a little faster will kind of get you to do it. I'll do one of those things where it kind of goes to a black. And it's the same idea as this thing, where it's like you do a set of kind of clean lines, and then these will get a little closer together, a little thicker. I'm starting to blend. I'm defocusing my eyes now a bit more. Okay, these are going to go thicker and be a little closer together. And if something, and when a line goes kind of off, you want to just run with it and react to that immediately. And okay, the moment that the rhythm, there was one line that I threw in here, it was probably somewhere right around here. It felt off, like I just felt it. It was a little thick, it was a little lower than I wanted, and I just immediately reacted to it. So the next line I put next to it was a little bit thinner, and then I went a little thicker on the next one, and I kind of blended it in, and then you get the blend, okay? So this is a more loose, kind of chaotic style. I felt that this was something maybe a little too advanced to try to show to beginners, only because there's a lot of choices that you're making on the fly. Like, it's a very, very fast, reactive thing. But I hope that this at least gives you some ideas of how to run some exercises on yourself to do this. And work on the neat stuff, too. You're going to need a blend of both. You're going to need the control to be out of control, all right? Smash the like. I love you all. Your feedback is so, so helpful and important to these videos, and they make them better. And let's just all be cool with each other. And again, if you feel like I've made a misstep on a video, I actually appreciate the feedback. And then, you know, I'll try to address it and do it better the next time. We're all going to be learning. Okay? All right, bye.